You haven't quit yet. Not because the job is fine, because you're still asking the wrong question. Most people stuck in a role that's quietly shrinking around them ask one question on repeat. Is this still the right job for me? That question feels responsible. It keeps you patient, measured, careful. It also keeps you waiting. And waiting is exactly what closes the window. The right question isn't, is this still working? It's, what do I lose if I don't get out now? Because there is a window to leave clean. It opens when your impact is still visible, your reputation still growing, your network still seeing you at full capacity. It closes quietly. No announcement, no warning. Long before anything blows up. By the time the urgency arrives, that window is already shut. By the end of this video, you will know whether your leverage is still growing or whether the window is already closing without a single signal to tell you. 3 things determine whether you are building leverage or quietly spending it down. Impact. Whether your decisions shape outcomes, not just produce output. Growth. Whether the skills you're building today are worth more on the market next year than they are right now. Reputation. How people describe what you do in rooms where you are not present. 1 sentence each. That is all each one needs. Most people track the wrong column. Deliverables, projects, targets. Those can all look fine while the 3 that matter quietly decline. And the institution has no reason to tell you which column you're actually in. When all 3 are moving, you're accumulating leverage. When they plateau, you're generating output without building anything. Here's how you know. The meetings you used to anchor now have a shorter invite list. The projects that used to carry your name on the lead position now have a different name there. Your work is still being delivered, but it's executing decisions, not shaping them. You're further from the table than you were 18 months ago, and nobody scheduled a meeting to tell you that. And when a colleague introduces you at an event, or your name comes up in a conversation you're not part of, the description they use is the same one they would have used 2 years ago. Nothing has evolved in how the people around you understand what you do or what you're capable of. That's the signal. Not a dramatic incident, not a performance warning, a description that's held still while time moved forward. The companies most comfortable with your presence are also the most resistant to your growth. You've become part of the current architecture. Your competence is a feature of the structure as it exists, not a reason to change it. The institution doesn't experience your stagnation. It experiences the benefit of your stability, and it has no structural reason to disturb that. Here is why this happens, and why the institution has no incentive to tell you. When you've been in a role long enough to stabilize it, the organization files you. Not fired. Not promoted, filed. You've become load-bearing infrastructure. You run the function reliably. You absorb complexity without escalating it. You solve problems before they become incidents. From the company's perspective, this is ideal. Promoting you creates a backfill problem. Who runs the function while you transition? Losing you creates disruption. So the institutional incentive is to keep you exactly where you are. Stable, available, retained at the same compensation level it has been for 2 cycles. The problem is that stability and stagnation feel almost identical from the inside. Both involve showing up. Both involve delivering. Both involve being told you're valued. The difference is that stability compounds. Your leverage grows. Your skills sharpen. Your optionality expands. Stagnation erodes. Slowly, invisibly, until the gap between your market value and your current position is too wide to close without starting over somewhere else entirely. Most people only discover this gap when they try to move and find that the story they've been living in for 3 years doesn't translate cleanly to an interview. Here's where the mechanism accelerates. In high-pressure environments, finance, consulting, law, tech, 50 hours a week isn't dedication, it's the floor. Refuse to exceed it and you get labeled non-committed, difficult, deprioritized. Your ceiling doesn't move. Your output keeps climbing. The extraction is structural. You are not imagining it. Stagnation doesn't arrive as a breakdown. It arrives as a plateau, a decision-making slowdown, a quiet withdrawal from the exact behaviors that would protect your exit options. You stop networking. You stop being visible in the conversations that matter, not because you gave up, because the role extracted too much to leave anything for self-protection. The institution processes this as continued reliability. Your absence from the right conversations looks, from the outside, exactly like stability. The erosion is invisible because the output hasn't changed, only the leverage has. The longer you stay inside that, the harder it becomes to leave clean. Not because you're failing, because you're spending the leverage you needed for the exit. Your leverage is your reputation while it's still in motion. The moment it plateaus, you stop being the person who could be exceptional somewhere else. You become the person who is reliable enough to keep around. That's a different conversation in every interview, every warm introduction, every networking call. The market doesn't know what version of you exists inside a company that stopped investing in your growth. It only knows what it sees, and what it sees is a professional whose last visible achievement aligns with the role they're leaving, not the one they're trying to get into. That gap, invisible from the inside, is obvious to anyone evaluating you from the outside. Every month you wait adds one more month to that gap. Think about what happens to someone in a sales role who decides she's leaving but waits to time it right. More savings, a better moment. In many companies, the moment a sales employee hands in a 2-week notice, she's walked out that afternoon. Client relationships belong to the company, not the employee. She planned for 6 more paychecks. The company eliminated them in a sentence. In at-will employment states, they have every legal right to do that. That's what the window closing looks like in practice, not dramatic. The math of leverage, quietly transferring, slowly, then decisively. Here is how you execute the clean exit before they lock you out. 3 moves, in this order. Treat the exit as maintenance, not emergency. The people who leave clean don't leave in crisis. They decide to go while everything still looks fine from the outside, while their reputation is still an asset, while their network still sees them at full capacity, while they have something to offer rather than something to escape. 1. Know your value before you need to articulate it. Not a confidence exercise, a precision inventory. What you specifically do that produces outsized results. Why a different company in a different environment would pay more for exactly that. What your highest opportunity potential looks like outside of this particular role. Call it your unique awesomeness quotient if you want a name for it. The point is to know it precisely, before you're in a room where you need it. 2. Run targeted intelligence, not a panic search. Sending applications to every open role on a job board is low-impact activity. It signals to anyone reviewing your file that you're moving because you have to be, not because you've been selective. High-impact job search is a handful of strategic conversations with people already inside the rooms you want access to. Intelligence before application, relationship before resume. You're not looking for any job. You're moving toward a specific type of role that uses what you've just inventoried. 3. Lock your story before you tell it. When you leave, you need a departure narrative that holds in every conversation without variation. With the next interviewer, with mutual contacts, with a former colleague who asks 6 months later. 1 sentence. I reached my ceiling here and a role aligned with where I'm heading opened up. No grievance, no elaboration. You deliver it once, without hesitation, and stop talking. The clean exit is built before the resignation letter. It's the inventory, the intelligence, and the sentence, executed from a position of strength, not crisis. Here is what that looks like in execution. A senior operations manager, 5 years in the same role, recognized internally, ceiling locked, decides the window is still open. She does not update her LinkedIn. She does not send applications. She schedules a handful of targeted conversations with people already inside the functions she wants to move into. Over 6 weeks, she learns where the real gaps are. She walks into interviews with the language of someone who has already been doing adjacent work, because she has. She does not say she was overlooked. She says she reached the ceiling of what this role could teach her, and a position aligned with where she was heading opened up. She leaves on her terms. Her network is intact. Her story holds in every room. That is the window used correctly, not escaped through, exited from. The people who do this well don't burn anything down. They finish strong, hand off clearly, leave no open projects, no damaged relationships, no exit interview that gets repeated in the wrong room. They leave the way you leave a project you've fully completed, done, delivered, no strings. The people who wait, who stay until staying becomes the worst of 2 bad options, leave differently. The story needs 4 sentences and still doesn't land. The references are qualified in ways they didn't anticipate. The reputation they built over years gets its final chapter written in someone else's frustration. And the first 6 months at the next role are spent managing that perception instead of building toward what comes next. There is a window to leave clean. It's not when you're desperate. It's not when you're angry. It's before the situation removes your options and hands you only the exit. That window is open right now, while the description of what you do is still growing, while the people who know your work are still watching it move. The video on screen right now covers the indispensability trap. Why being the most capable person in your current role is the exact mechanism that closes this window before it ever announces itself. Watch that next.